I started switching up my content to more try and teach people finance because whilst learning, business and stuff like that and starting the affiliate marketing journey, I was also developing my understanding of finance in the background. So reading books such as Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and, basically changing my life. So instead of, sitting down later and watching YouTube or something, I would watch like documentaries, and instead of listening to music, I listen to podcasts. So I trying to consume my life around like finance and entrepreneurship, and grow that way. And then I started basically reciprocating what I was learning out across TikTok, and more making my videos around the philosophy of money as per to this is how you make money. It's more about why money makes people feel this way, why social media can have a bad impact on people and money and that kind of thing. And I started, making content about that and growing my followers from there. So originally I started making finance content just because of the business, and then it interested me finance and more because I learned a lot about money from people on TikTok. So I thought, I can help other people my age learn what I learned, and that's sort of how it started. And then from there it grew, personal brand, and then obviously delving into other online business ventures and stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mine's a little bit different. So I grew up and I went to this small private school for middle school and high school, and there weren't that many people there, and even less girls that I could find that were also interested in finance. So I've always been kind of like an entrepreneur. I sold like the rainbow loom bracelets or, the duct tape wallets when I was younger. And then I started my first business in my freshman year of high school. And then I actually started posting finance content on TikTok in October 2021, just with the sole goal of meeting other like-minded, like teenage girls who were interested in those spaces. So it was literally just to make friends. But then as, I kept posting a couple of videos, I started getting these questions, how can I start a business? How can I start investing? And that's when I realized that, there wasn't really a lot of resources out there that were free, accessible, and made by Gen Z. And so that's when I kind of switched my mission and my focus to actually creating financial educational content. And ever since, that's been my mission, is just to keep like empowering Gen Z, but especially other young teenage girls to get interested in the space.
That's both very awesome. I honestly could relate to that a little bit. I think especially like I have seen both of you guys on my For You page before ever like even organizing this whole event, which is pretty awesome. And now get to speak with you guys. I think especially like for Colin, it's pretty great that you we're kind of in this community and now you've created your own. I think it's very great that you've learned from others and now educating others too. And also same with Mary, just kind of like I guess finding that community is pretty important since at our ages around like Gen Zers, it's kind of hard to learn from others. So especially TikTok, I feel like is a pretty great place. I think other than that, like what made you guys go with TikTok as the right platform to start your journey?
I think for me, going with TikTok as the primary platform was just because of the growth potential that it had, right? I mean, everyone was on TikTok at that time. It was like the new platform to go onto. That happened a few years before, but I think I learned a lot from a lot about how I started from TikTok, a lot about the basics of finance and, working for yourself and this kind of stuff on TikTok. So I thought, if other people can do it, I can do it. And that's why I decided to reciprocate it off TikTok. And of course, because of the growth potential, one video does well and then you build a whole personal brand. And that is your own online business, your small business. So I think that's the reason I started TikTok. Of course, obviously, it's so engaging, making videos and stuff. You can really share your creativity and your passion. It's not like an Instagram post or a tweet or something where there's only one form to share. It's like text or a photo. This, you can make it however you want and like sort of push your creativity. And obviously TikTok, it was the hottest platform at the time, and the most logical thing to do would be to go down that route to obviously blow up as quick as you can, I guess.
Yeah, my decision making was a little bit like more on the analytical side, and less on the creative side, because I didn't have any video content creation experience. But what I've noticed, and I'm really like into like the marketing side of things, is that every social media app has life cycles and like peaks and drops. And Instagram really peaked in the mid 2010s, and right now TikTok is peaking. It's hot, and like Callum said, it's trending. And especially with that virality factor, it's so much more easy to go viral on TikTok than it is on Instagram or Twitter. And that's why, you know, I decided to choose it, to really dedicate all my time to growing that platform instead of splitting time between multiple different social media platforms. But yeah, I also agree that like the video content definitely trumps the photo content and when resonating with your audience.
Yeah, those are both great answers. I think we can all relate to how easy it is to consume content on TikTok. Just a couple seconds, 30-second snippets. It's so easy to consume information and data, especially if the content creators are able to literally deliver that information in like a short amount of time. I guess that kind of leads into our next question. How does your guys' ideation process look like for like when you're creating videos? Because I know it could be very hard to come up with ideas to deliver that correctly to the right audience and things like that.
So I started creating content around what I found interesting in finance and what I was learning. So I would learn something, whether it was from a book or videos, whatever it was, and then try and reciprocate it. And I think, I mean, I still have periods when creating content, now doing it for quite a while, where I will, you know, go a week without coming up with any ideas, and it will sort of be, you know, completely blank in my head. But I think most of my ideas come from what I find interesting, and I think that's quite important, especially when it comes to burnout and stuff like that. If you start making content around what other people want and you're not necessarily as interested in it or as passionate to make, it comes to the fact that, you know, content creation is this thing which should start off as a hobby, and then, you know, you can excel it from that. But if you start creating content around what other people want to see as per what you want to make, then it becomes more of a chore and a job, and I think that takes away from the whole fun of it. So I make content around what interests me, and something that obviously keeping in the niche that I'm passionate about. And also, you know, taking off other people. I use my followers a lot as like what they want to see. As long as it's something in line with what I want to create, then 100% I'll make that content. You know, if some people talk about more stuff that's not necessarily relative to my content, and I won't make videos about it. I make videos about what interests me, and what I think I found interesting or I've learned about, and then I'll obviously reciprocate it to my audience.
Yeah, so I also obviously I started my TikTok and posting about finance and entrepreneurship because that was something that interested me. But as for like ideation process now, it's mainly based on, you know, the questions that my followers are leaving in the comments, what they want to learn about, whether it's, you know, how to open a custodial account if you're under 18 trying to invest, or, you know, how can I start a side hustle when I'm 16 from home, stuff like that. I definitely use trends a lot. Whenever I see trends on my For You page, I try to see how I can tailor them to my niche, which is finance.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think when you're first beginning to like try to create content, it could be pretty hard to like find your niche almost, just experimenting a lot and everything. But it seems like obviously you guys have both kind of found the alignment between your passions and also just content creation. So that's pretty awesome. I guess so. I know, Colin, you're located in the UK and Mary in America. Do you guys like think about how global your audience is, I guess, and create content according to that? And does that inform how you create content?
For myself, slightly. I mean, I have quite an even split between a US audience and a UK audience. And obviously, speaking when it comes to personal finance and stuff like that, and opening an account and the different apps you can use, a lot of them obviously have barriers with where they are. I mean, I can't use a lot of the US apps, and therefore I don't talk about a lot of them. Although I think it, you know, a lot of the terms I talk about are across the board. You know, investing in the companies you can invest in. When it comes to more tutorial-based stuff of, you know, how to open up your ISA, which in the UK is it's the UK version of Roth IRA, right? And I wouldn't talk about Roth IRA. So I 100% think it can, you know, inflict with some of my viewers because they may not know what I'm talking about. But because I make a lot more content around the philosophy of money now, it's quite universal, right? As long as, you know, I talk it in terms of dollars and pounds. So as long as you know, you're in one of those countries or a lot more around the world, then I think it can apply to you. And luckily, you know, I don't think there's too much of a barrier there, unless I'm going like much into detail about you know, different aspects of different apps you can use and stuff like that. Then there's a barrier, but I think you know, there's always ways to get around that because at the end of the day, it's quite universal. You just have to find something within your geographic location.
Yeah, I would agree. Mine is a little different. So for me, the large majority of my followers are from the US. And so I really just put out a lot of content, and different to Callum. I will speak about Roth IRA and custodial accounts and more like stuff that's just in the US, just because that's where the majority of my audience is. But yeah, just going off what he said, a lot of stuff is universal, like the more like mindset and philosophy and like budgeting and all that stuff. It's not specific to one specific region.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, I guess Colin popping up on my For You page just kind of proves that it is pretty universal, and that money and education is just kind of needed everywhere in the world. Um, I guess with TikTok, what are your guys' long-term goals with TikTok?
My long-term goal is to just build more of a personal brand. I mean, from when I started, my original goal was to obviously try and make money off TikTok, and then I sort of switched it to I want to build. I want to become the face of it in a certain aspect of young financial literacy and financial awareness and stuff like that. So I think my long-term goal is to build a personal brand and build such a strong, tight personal brand that I can then sprout different avenues off it. So I mean, I teach a lot of what I know at the moment, and I think growing my personal brand more and more, it will just give me more opportunities to teach people different things, and jump into more avenues of whether it's online business or maybe, I want to start talking about a different niche or something like that. So I think just building, the strongest community I can, and strongest personal brand. I don't see like a ceiling of where it can go really. Obviously, there will get to a point where we both are either too old to make content, or TikTok, for some reason it's not the platform it once was. But I think I'm gonna ride it out until that happens, until there's like a monumental shift in what I want to do, or just what my passions are. I'm gonna keep riding it out. So in terms of like goals, numbers, and stuff like that, I mean, I want to aim as high as I possibly can, right? But there's no sort of ceiling where I'll hit and I'll think, I've made it now. I think I'll just keep riding it out until, for other circumstances, sort of other things have an impact on it and I can't go any further.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I touched on it earlier, but every social media app has a life cycle, and TikTok is hot right now. But the longevity factor, is it going to be hot in 10 years? Probably not. So just again, same with Callum, building up enough influence that I can take some things off TikTok, podcast, book, that kind of stuff, and that's the stuff that's timeless, that I can continue to grow even if TikTok dies. And then, I am also going to write it out. There is no ceiling, but just seeing, and then at that point, I will decide, do I want to jump on the next big social media app, or, do I just want to take my skill set and work somewhere else?
Yeah, I think you guys bring up a very important point of, like Mary, like you mentioned, the time cycle and how like social media works over time. But I think it's great that you guys are thinking about how basically building a brand around your name, other than just like using TikTok as like the main thing, because over time something new will come out and then you guys could decide to move on there or not. That's awesome. I guess moving on to more of the entrepreneurial things you guys are doing. For Colin, how did you come around to starting iUnite Media? I guess the listeners, iUnite Media, from my understanding, is kind of just like a marketing agency that is targeting fintech businesses for Gen Zers.
Yeah, spot on. So it's basically a marketing agency where we take advantage of influence and stuff like that, and use their influence to then obviously help the brand out. So how I originally started it, I mean, I started iUnite Media and like registered it as a company back a year and a bit ago now, maybe 2 years ago, and started all around social media management and stuff like that. So obviously, myself going down the different business paths that I can take, I started social media management and went to my local restaurants and that kind of thing, started managing their Instagrams and their Facebooks, just using the expertise I had, not even like my followers or anything as leverage. It was more just I am part of the Gen Z. I obviously spend a lot of my time on these platforms and going to these, business owners who are in the older generations that don't have as much advantage that I do, and I guess offering my skill set there. And that worked quite well. I mean, it went a bit stagnant as I continued. I'm not sure whether I sort of took it for granted or what it was, but I knew I had to sort of optimize from there, because that sort of slowed down a bit. So then I moved on to social media advertising and stuff. So sort of all down the same avenue. Which was going okay. It was more just trying to, offer Facebook ads to companies and stuff like that. So another online, like typical online business that I was trying to take advantage of. I did try and ride that out for quite a while, and I was working with fintech companies in that sense as well, trying to offer them the services of Facebook ads, but nothing was clicking. And there's so many different factors to that, whether I'm this small starter agency or it's not in demand for them and that kind of stuff. And luckily at the time, obviously having the following that I did and stuff like that, I got in touch with Will, who's obviously the founder of Stack, and I had a chat with him, and he sort of not brought me on, but we were in contact and stuff like that, and I helped him out a decent amount with social media and stuff like that for Stack, and TikTok, and giving him some advice and those kind of bits. I also did some online posts for him on my TikTok, and I sort of, I guess I view him as like a mentor kind of thing, where we'd hop on sort of maybe a call every couple of weeks or something like that, just catching up. And then I sort of spoke about what I was doing with social media advertising, and just saying like, this isn't working. There's no demand for this. I was so hell bent on working with fintech companies the whole time, just because that was an industry that I believed in and I understood and I was passionate about. So I wanted to keep going down that route. And I sort of said to him, what is in demand for fintech companies? What can I do? What problem can I solve? Because obviously making a business, you're solving someone's problem, you're solving someone's pain point. And he was just sort of saying like, I need more people like you. He wants this access to a network of influencers within the industry that he is in, so the fintech industry, and said, I need more people like you to help promote the brand and stuff like that. And that's when I sort of clocked on that, in a sense, I am the advertisement tool. Myself, Mary's an advertisement tool as well that the brands can use. And I sort of thought, it almost makes sense, instead of to use Facebook ads as an advertisement tool, I use influencers. So, I go to fintech companies. I have this fantastic network of fintech influencers or finance influencers, including Mary. And that's when I sort of group them up into this pool, and then basically go to the same company and say, this is direct marketing for you. And then I manage the campaigns and stuff like that with a small team behind me. And I've actually done that with Mary as well, as one of the influencers in my network. And then she's done some posts for Stack. So, the proof's in the pudding that it all works. And then I've just sort of scaled from there, realizing and, teaching other people how to do it as well. And realizing that influencers are the future of advertisement without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, there's obviously, things can happen, stuff may go wrong, but I believe that there's only more influencers are only evolving, right? There's only more people starting to create content and stuff like that. And I honestly think that there's never too late. I mean, especially with TikTok, you can make one video and, jumpstart your whole personal brand and, get tens of thousands of followers. And then you've got your own online business where you can monetize it. You can teach people things. There's so many different avenues to go off. So, that's how I originally started Unite Media. And since then, it's been fantastic working with some fantastic fintech companies. And I think, honestly, the idea of stuff was failing. So I went to people that were, working in industry such as Will, and asked what I can do. That sort of excelled everything. And if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't be where I am today. So yeah, that's Unite Media. We obviously just help fintechs to advertise across the Gen Z market, and, go straight to their ideal customer and stuff like that. Does that all make sense?
Yes, no, 100%. That
fantastic.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think it's such a powerful moment when you realize you yourself could be the basically the point of advertising. That's awesome that you've been able to gather other influencers, and basically, instead of Facebook ads, TikTok ads, you put yourself in front of these for these fintech companies. And yeah, that's great, amazing. And then for Mary, you guys are both very entrepreneurial. Mary, can you tell me a little bit more about your newest venture, Blora Beauty? We've heard that it's using, correct me if I'm wrong, but like tobacco plant seeds in order to for skincare, which is kind of new to me, and I'm pretty sure maybe new to some people. So if you could give us a little information about that, how it's going and how it works.
Yeah, of course. So I actually didn't found it. My two friends actually co-founded it together, and I joined later on as the third team member. But it's essentially, we've partnered with a pharmaceutical company to manufacture a new skin compound that would help alleviate eczema utilizing the linoleic acid of the tobacco seed. And why this is new is because tobacco is such a stigmatized plant that a lot of people neglect to really notice and see that some aspects of it, besides the whole nicotine part, can actually be used for like good positive purposes. And so how this goes in tandem with like kind of like our social cause is that we're all from North Carolina, and so the goal is to kind of like revitalize the North Carolina tobacco industry, or at least just flip the script on the stigmatization of tobacco as a plant, because it's really vilified, but you know, it also has good parts of it that we can use.
That is awesome. Yeah, pretty new to me, and I hope it all goes well and everything like that. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Um, I guess for both of you, back to both of you. What do you think some of the challenges Gen Zers will be facing in the next couple of years? I guess with like things going on, like from COVID, inflation, financially, things like that.
So what do I think are going to be the problems?
Yeah, I've actually just like saw one of your recent videos about like inflation of how every year your 100 pounds is gonna decrease 10
Oh yeah,
pounds, 10
yeah.
pounds, like things like that. Like,
Yeah, so I think at the moment, especially in the financial world, everything's a bit upside down. But this is normal, right? This happens every now and then. Looking at the big graph, zooming out. So I think at the moment, in terms of problems, there's obviously in a lot of different countries in the UK, there's like a cost of living crisis and this kind of thing. So I think for people our age that are looking to obviously start their own life, out of school and out of education, stuff like that, it's quite difficult. But I also think that there's so many opportunities, especially with social media and the internet and this kind of stuff. It's never been easier to put yourself out there or start your own online business and stuff like this. And especially talking about the financial side, the recession that we're going into and stuff like that. Obviously, it creates massive opportunities for people that know what to do. So I would say there's quite a few problems that people will be going into, but the solution to those problems is just educate yourself as much as you possibly can in the financial side of things, in the opportunities that they can take advantage of in the online business space and this kind of thing, because you can go down so many different avenues. I mean, I'm in one like tiny aspect, being an influencer in finance. There's so many different ways you can go. I mean, even learning about how to profit off the recession and this kind of thing, starting with even nothing or close to nothing. I think you can create a lot of future generational wealth out there. So I mean, there's a lot of problems at the moment, but I think just at the solution wise, education and just learning as much as you can. I mean, going out of school and stuff like that, the last thing you want to do is stay in education. But I think the aspect of educating yourself is so important. So I guess education in the things that you're interested in as well. If you're interested in starting an online business, educate yourself as much as you possibly can. There's so many resources out there for free as well. Or if you want to start investing or something like that, education is the first way to go, and taking advantage of the current situations.
I think Gen Z, the question is like, what isn't going to go wrong? Because, with rising inflation, supply chain issues, just like, college here is so ridiculously expensive. People are making minimum wage, and that buys, a carton of milk at the store. And that's an entire hour of work. And so it just like shocks me every day. Gas, that was crazy. So I think the problem is that, yes, Callum is so correct in saying that the way this needs to happen is we need to increase financial education, and people need to be maybe smarter with their money, learn how to optimize their money, whether it's putting it in the stock market or starting an online business. But the crux of the issue is I want to shift the blame back from like Gen Zers, and nobody should have to I don't know. I feel like we're always being pushed to, the problem is us. We should work harder. We should do all this, but recognizing that it's really not our fault, and it's okay to feel overwhelmed during this time. But that's why a lot of finance influencers are really been popping off on TikTok, is because there's not enough financial education becoming accessible to meet the rising demand because of all these financial problems, especially in America for the younger generations.
Yeah, I mean, Gen Zers are obviously not to blame. We've barely been here, but I think that you guys make some great insights, and obviously there's so much information online to educate yourself. I mean, look, your guys' TikToks. At the end of the day, people can always go there and learn more about how to learn more about their finances and things like that. Um, for the next question, what excites you guys the most about the future of fintech, I guess Web3, crypto, and things like that?
For myself, I mean, it's also exciting for me. I mean, working, with these companies directly and stuff like that, the things that companies are coming out with and the solutions that they're coming out with that we don't even know we have problems to yet, I think is so exciting. I mean, if you look in the past, in the fintech space, from companies starting with like online banking and mobile banking and stuff like this, like the idea that you can actually send money from one place to another from your phone through like a click of a button, to now there's apps that can like automate your financial life, that can deal with debt, loans, payments, income, budgeting, all this kind of stuff that can really, I mean, us humans, all we want is efficiency, right? And I think the companies that are offering that are going to have massive impacts on our life and on our future. So it all excites me, especially, going into Web3 and stuff, which for the majority of us, we have no idea the potential that comes out of that, right? People are saying it's like, the start of the internet. And I can't even comprehend it. I know a lot of people can't either, but I think what can come out of it is insane. I mean, even looking into like the metaverse kind of stuff and the technology that's available, that, the people that actually know what to make of it can make something insane. And I think a lot of people have a lot of entrepreneurs have the right mindset of doing something to better the world, which I think is massively important as well. I mean, this technology will be taken the wrong way, of course it will, but the people that are making apps and softwares and enabling people to utilize this technology, I think is extremely exciting. And I have no idea where it's going to go, to be honest, but I'm going to keep on top of it and keep riding it, because I guess sort of, the sky is not the limit in this case.
Yeah, I would definitely not call myself an expert by any means, especially because the landscape is changing so fast that it would be just so hard for anybody to be able to claim that they know everything that's going on in the Web3 space right now. But I would say, if there's something I'm really excited about, it's just the concept of decentralized finance, being able to send money worldwide immediately, no little fees, completely digitally. Some coins would be relatively resistant to inflation, which I know is a big problem right now. And then also the ability to hold money as an appreciating asset, especially because, the US dollar right now, it's not doing good. I wouldn't call it an appreciating asset by any means. It's actually, as Callum touched on in one of his recent videos, it is losing value just as you continue to hold it. So I'm really excited to see how the landscape evolves, and I'm really excited to see more people my age and younger investing in crypto. And that's why I was really excited to partner with Stack, which enables the teenagers to open the custodial account.
Yeah, I think you guys make both very great points, call them efficiency, and also I guess no one like Mary is an expert yet because it's such a new space. It is kind of like the internet bubble, or the internet first being introduced. There's always so many new things coming out every day, but efficiency, companies I guess leading towards efficiency is always going to win. Yeah. One more question before we move on to the live Q&A is what is one advice you would give to the younger generation?
That's a fantastic question. I would say it's sort of a cliche one, but don't be afraid to fail. I think the idea of failure is such a massive objection and block between, someone creating something insane or really making something out of their life and someone not. I mean, even, talking in terms of influencers, like making and posting that first video. I mean, my first video back in 2021 was awful. It was tragic, and I don't know if Mary's the same, but it's not fun to make your first video. It won't go well and you'll fail so much. And I think it's important for people, especially young entrepreneurs, to realize is that it's not you're here, failures here, success is here. It's you're here, failures here, and success is here. It does happen. And I think it's all that growth mindset of you will fail. And a lot of people, that is sort of the objection of them not starting because they know they're going to fail. So I think it's important to know that will happen. And it's important to have a growth mindset of taking a positive out of every negative. If you fail, something goes wrong, what went wrong? How can you optimize, and this kind of stuff? I mean, even speaking for myself, when I was doing social media management, I was making fantastic money off it. And then stuff went very, very wrong and my income dropped dramatically. And then I could have said social media is not for me. 9 to 5 is my sort of, my piece of cake now. But I sort of thought, there's other ways to optimize this. And I've obviously failed here. Where have I failed? And then, going on to building the better business that there was before. So I think failure is a part of life, and it's important that people embrace it rather than fear it, I guess. It's quite a cliche one, but I think that's massively important, and it stops a lot of people, younger people, actually taking action.
I'm going to take this in a little bit different direction. I completely agree. When you first asked that question, I wanted to answer with more like, oh, you should start investing and like all this stuff, more like financial stuff. But like, to be honest, guys, if I could give one piece of advice, in the whole like influencer space, it's to be careful what you post online. Because I didn't really, you start out with an account and you have 0 followers and you feel like, oh, I can kind of post whatever related to my niche. And then, you continue to grow. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you have 50,000 followers and a digital footprint exists, guys. It still does, even on TikTok. And a lot of people on TikTok, they're online, they're behind screens. And so a lot of what you say can be easily misinterpreted. And you have the potential to be canceled, which is really scary. So I would just be careful with what you post online. Just be sure that, when you're doing it, and you're filming a video, you're literally putting your face to these words. So just being sure that you really stand for what you're saying.
Yeah, both very
I
great,
agree, yeah.
Both very great advice, Colin. I think obviously we should not be afraid of failure. It's just like getting us one step closer to where we want to be. It's better to, I think, fail to just stay stagnant and stand still. And yeah, Mary, very great point, especially in these years. It's very important to pay attention to what you say. Like, it's okay to be controversial, I think, but as long as, you're not hurting anyone or watching out for what you say, you should be okay. We actually have a lot of Q&A questions, so we'll go through some of them right now. Let me pull them up. So I think there are some in general and some directed for you guys. The first question is, were you ever scared to put yourself out there on social media?
Oh, 100%. I think that is what I'm talking about, that sort of failure thing. I mean, when I put myself out across TikTok, my first 5 videos were awful. It took me quite a while to actually gain some traction and, be confident with what I was doing. So it's so abnormal to record yourself or take photos of yourself and put yourself out there. It doesn't feel normal. And yeah, it was absolutely terrifying. I think 100%, it takes you a long time to actually get used to it, especially, a lot of people are nervous about how other people will perceive them when they make content, stuff like that. I mean, it took me a while for my friends to actually find my content that I put out. And when they did, there was a period of the money man, this kind of thing. And you sort of you perceived a certain way. But after that, it's sort of even the successful people, the massive entrepreneurs in the world, they obviously went through that period of where people thought they were stupid and what they were doing didn't make any sense. I mean, Elon Musk thinking, oh, how about the rocket we shoot up into the air can land back on Earth? I'm sure people thought he was absolutely insane. And there's that period where people will make fun of you and think you're stupid. But then once you get past that, it turns into, instead of people thinking you're stupid, they're then asking you questions and asking for advice because you are one up on them. So yes, and you should embrace that sort of fear. But 100%, yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So unfortunately, I had misfortune differently from Callum. Mine got on the For You page of everybody probably within the first month. And especially if you do ads, it's so embarrassing being sent your own promotional videos. I got called Money with Mary in person, and it's so embarrassing. I think that really the only solution that helped people to maybe make fun of me a little bit less was just, continuing to build my audience and continuing to put out content that I know is educational. Your content, when you do it, a number one rule of marketing is to pick a target demographic. And, not everybody that that's in your life is going to be your target demographic. So obviously your content isn't going to resonate with all of them. And so some of them might have some criticism, but for the majority of people, once you find that target audience, you're building this supportive community that really looks forward to what you post. So I would say, yes, there's a bit of a little curve or whatever, but you're going to find that audience and eventually, it's not going to bother you anymore. It's just words behind a screen. And a rule that I take, is if you don't know them personally, don't take it personally.
Mm-hmm. No, both, very great points. I think it's almost impossible not to be scared when posting your first video because it's something new, right? You don't know what to expect. There'll be haters. There'll be people who love your videos. And it's important to, that's a very great point, not to take things personally from people you don't know personally. That's awesome. For the next question, I think this is directed for for column. I am not too sure, but column, it says, do you have any tips to start out with SMIP?
Yes, so SMIP is the term of what I basically categorize Untitled Media, because I call it social media influencer pooling, because essentially what you're doing is you're pooling together influencers for brands. And this is more of what I teach. I have a separate TikTok account where I basically teach this form of business model, because it's quite different to all the typical ones like management and advertising and stuff. So I guess like tips with starting your own online business. I mean, there's loads of different ways I can go about saying this, but I guess it is education in the space that you actually want to go into, and making sure that you fully understand the industry that you're going into. Because, I mean, if I went into like the beauty cosmetics industry, it would be a very, very quick business before I sort of peaked and went down. So I think really understanding your industry is very important, because it gives you so much leverage on top of everything else. And of course, you know, you're an expert in the space. It enables brands to trust you more and that kind of thing. So yeah, social media, SMIP is social media influence pooling. And that's just what I categorize it as. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And this is directed towards more Mary. It says, for Mary, what was your, the for real, for your freshman year business about? They want to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, of course. So actually my first business was a crochet business called Purple Pear, and I started it in my freshman year of high school. I would crochet these little plushies. Like, I didn't really go the fashion route. I was crocheting like the stuffed animals with the cute faces. You might have seen them maybe on TikTok or Instagram, just like people in general making them. And I first started posting on Instagram. It took me a couple years to grow to 4,000 followers, but then once I got on TikTok, within the first couple of months, I grew to 13.7K followers. And I was like selling out consistently. I was also on Twitter. But eventually I realized that, you know, I was splitting my time in so many different directions that I really decided to just go all in on my TikTok account promoting financial literacy. And so now I just crochet for fun. But that was something that was really special to me, because I was really interested in art growing up. And then through art and crochet, I discovered my love for entrepreneurship. And then through entrepreneurship, I started making revenue. That's how I discovered investing, which piqued my interest in finance. And that's how I then started Money with Mary TikTok. So it's kind of like, everybody has their like baby, like their business. That was like the first one. That was mine. But then, yeah, you mentioned For Real Treats. That was a nonprofit I did during COVID to help raise money. So the SPCA, at least in my area, was closed, and it didn't accept any volunteers because of COVID. But that meant that the puppies, there weren't as many people helping out with them. So I teamed up with, actually, it wasn't just me. I teamed up with 3 other girls, and we just created organic dog treats, sold them, and then donated all the proceeds to the SPCA to help like monetarily help them out during that time.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've checked out your website for the crochet. They all look pretty cool and cute too. That's awesome. One of the other questions is, do you guys work usually solo to create your content, or have like a team?
So I myself am solo. I did have a period where I hired an editor to help me edit videos, but that was when I was sort of very busy with doing everything. I mean, I still am busy, and my content has slowly, the frequency of it has slowly declined a bit, just because I'm focusing on so much other things. But I don't have a team at the moment. It is just me. I don't have anything against building a team. I think it is very important to keep it personalized to you, because people, although they're interested in the content you're talking about, they're also interested in you talking about it. So I did have an editor for a small period of time, but now it's just myself again, because I love the personal touch I can give to my videos, and because I go through the whole process of I'll come up with the ideas, scripting, recording, and editing, rather than just sort of propping my phone up and recording. I think I have a lot of personal aspects into it, from the words I say, where I make cuts, all that kind of stuff. So no, it's just me, myself, and I at the moment.
I'm not at the point yet where, hiring an editor. My content is a little bit different from Callum's, in which he puts a lot of thought into his content with scripting and everything. And for me, I just open the camera. If there's a trend, I try to participate in the trend. So maybe I'm not speaking. I don't have as much long form content to put out. But all of it's me. I don't script, which actually I should definitely change that. It would definitely save time. So I'm not like perfect by any means. I just sit and talk and delete if I don't like it and then keep going. But, I feel like a lot of people think that TikTok content creation, it's like easy, because it looks easy. It takes a little bit more time. But what I recommend is content batching, which is when I sit down, film a ton of videos at one time, then go back, edit them later. And then that has streamlined my process for posting. It makes it much faster.
I agree.
Yeah, I think those are pretty both valuable ways of creating content, scripting and also on the fly. I think it's easier to catch like the trends and things like that when you're on the fly too. That's pretty awesome. See more questions. We have a ton here, but we're almost out of time, so we'll go with a couple more. What advice would you have for teens interested in starting their own social media accounts?
I mean, I'm all for it. I made a video not too long ago about a personal brand and how that is the best online business model to start because it creates so many different avenues. And I was sort of giving references to, the Kardashians and stuff like that that are become some of the richest women in the world from their personal brand. And I just think I mean, advice. I think you should know that you are going to fail. Stuff will go wrong. I mean, I still make videos today that I'll post out. They don't get the viewage that I want, and I'll delete them because it does get to the point when you've got like a good amount of followers and stuff that your personal brand is sort of your baby, and you want to make sure that that's represented in the best way it possibly can be. The last thing you want is like a good row of videos and then one video that completely flopped and then continues. So don't try and perfect it too much. I think especially at the start, I read a study on something. It was sort of saying along the lines of quantity is more important than quality, especially when starting. Getting yourself out there, making yourself known to as many people as you can is much more important. Obviously, you can go down the route of quality because some of those quality videos can pop off and really jumpstart your personal brand. But I think just go for it. I think talk about something that you're passionate about. Never try and make content around something that you're not actually interested in because, like I said, it becomes a chore. You're not as passionate about it, and people can see that in videos when you're not actually passionate about what you're talking about. So pick something you're interested in, and I promise you, someone out there will be interested in the same thing that you're interested in, you're talking about. And like I said, it opens so many avenues. So in terms of advice, it's hard, but I think just go for it and know that you will fail. Videos will be awful, but I think when you zoom out the graph and look at everything you've created, I think that's important to see. So yeah, I mean, I would just say go for it. I would say to everyone that thinks they can become a content creator or make content online, there's no reason for you not to. There's no loss. There's no money investment. Of course, you invest your time into it, but there's no sort of investment that you actually have to make into it and just full upside potential.
I agree. You got to just start. So, when I was first considering TikTok, I wrote down a whole list of video ideas. I have not opened that book since. I really am just doing it on the fly with trends and stuff. And honestly, I didn't tell anybody I was starting a TikTok, and it's kind of exciting to just start from zero, open an account, start at 0 followers. There's no expectations for engagement or anything else. You can just start. And I feel like not telling my friends and family about it first kind of made it easier for me because there wasn't any social pressure for me to get viral really fast or, it was like my little secret. And I really enjoyed that. Yeah, you got to just start. But in terms of also positioning yourself in a good place to actually be a little bit successful maybe would be just honestly finding good lighting, utilizing trends, being active. Especially I would post 3 times a day when I first started, just like Callum said. Now obviously I don't do that. I'm gonna post maybe once a day because it is a lot of work, but and thinking, what would you like? Because if you're talking about something you're interested in, just like Callum said, you are your own target demographic. So what do you like? What are your interests? What hook would capture your attention at the beginning of the video? Do you watch long form content? Do you watch short term content? Are you looking for entertainment or education? And just really focusing on that. And that's been I've been my own greatest resource and in terms of, market research.
Yeah, that's both
100%.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We are almost out of time. There's still a lot of questions, but if you guys would like to always connect with Colin and Mary, you can leave them in the comments, I'm guessing, for TikTok on their TikTok accounts, which will be in the Eventbrite and things like that. But we'd like to end it with one little fun last question. Can you give us a dose of personal finance for the day? One little advice.
A dose of personal finance. Okay, my dose of personal finance is to put your money to work. Like I said in my videos, your money is depleting in value, and every single resource out there proves that. So put your money to work, make your money make you more money, and that is sort of the foundation to starting investing and making sure that it's kind of the idea of making money whilst you sleep. You can have money, but you've got to treat each one of those dollars or those pounds as like a small employee to make you more of them. So I would say everything's at a discount today, right? I mean, a lot of people also don't have the money to invest in everything. So I would also say focus on increasing your income as well. But once you get the money to invest, everything at the moment is at a discount. And if you look at, past projections and stuff like that, and past recessions and all stuff, you can see, if you zoom out on the graph, basically, that's when you can see that it will go back up eventually. It may take time. This may be an anomaly, and, we're in the recession for the next decade or whatever it is, but stuff will go up eventually. So I would say everything's at a discount. Of course, not financial advice, but that's sort of my take on the current market.
Yeah, and going off of that, a lot of people are scared of investing because, you've seen the market dip down for the past couple of months. I would say there's also a lot of safer options out there that is just better than holding your money in cash or in a regular savings account. You could check out a high yield savings account, which often has like quadruple or so many times X the annual percentage yield. You can also look into I-bonds for US people. They have a locked-in interest rate of, I believe, 9.62, which is about the average annual return of the stock market, just taking out, there's no risk through the US Treasury,ustreasury.gov. So there's other, you could buy CDs and your bank account. Also, this is like, I guess, more American. I apologize if people aren't American. But yeah, just like other options for saving your money besides, you don't have to choose between cash and stock market. I feel like a lot of people, and even within the stock market, you can choose lower risk options such as ETFs instead of individual stocks.
Awesome. Both great advice. Well, just to wrap things up, thank you guys so much, Colin and Mary, for joining us today. I've learned a lot from you guys. I'm sure the attendees and their questions, they've all been answered pretty greatly. Really appreciate you guys for joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much. And we'll be right back in around 10 minutes with our entrepreneurs panel. And we'll